In 2016, in Canada, in Toronto, Black Lives Matter decided to clash with their resident Pride Parade, which every year they have walking through the streets, a particularly large parade, it's a big celebration with lots of rainbow flags and lots of people saying, hey, we're gay. Wonderful stuff, if you're into it. Black Lives Matter were not happy with this and instead decided to halt the parade for about 30 minutes and present a list of demands. The demands themselves include Toronto police floats and booths be barred from the Pride marches, parades and community events. And they also included a commitment to increase representation amongst Pride Toronto staff and to better support black events during Pride. And they said in no uncertain terms that they would not agree to bar police from the festival. Well, that attitude by the next year had spread to Edmonton, which is a city in sort of central Canada, where they had demanded once again that the police were banned from attending the event because Black Lives Matter activists just really hate the cops. When you look at the issues that have come up with police being involved with the other parades, it's because segments of the community weren't comfortable with the police. In my mind, if the community is not comfortable with us, that means we have some work to do. That's right. Black Lives Matter activists staged a sit-in at the Toronto Pride Parade for around half an hour last year, and that seems to have been the genesis of this. Activists say that black, transgender and indigenous communities experience higher rates of police violence and were not comfortable with law enforcement officers marching in the parade. Therefore, they have to go. So in the 2018 parade in Edmonton, the police were not going to wear their uniforms, apparently. They will not wear their uniforms while participating in the march. This is a first for the town, obviously, and it was because of the demands of Black Lives Matter activists. Out of support for those who feel marginalised, the Alberta RCMP has decided to attend this year's Pride Parade out of uniform. So, I mean, you would think that the Black Lives Matter activists would say, well, that's a win. Jobs are good. If the cops are there, they're not in their official capacity as cops. Therefore, we can enjoy our Pride Parade as well as being black in this Pride Parade in peace, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to continually be reminded of the terrible violence that Canadian police do to black people. Well, obviously, that wasn't fucking good enough, was it? Nothing's fucking good enough. No, the police and military were to be blocked from future Pride Parades in Edmonton after the protesters interrupted the Pride Festival March in 2018. That's right, a group of whiny, annoying first world activists, racial activists, may I add, have blocked the Edmonton Pride Parade in 2018 to make a series of demands to the organisers, because that's all they have is demands. They're never going to be satisfied, including one to halt all police and military from marching in future parades. Okay, the police and military don't get to be part of society anymore. That's how this is. Protesters say their demands were met after they consulted with the Edmonton Pride Festival Society representatives at the blockade, which took place at 11 a.m. on the parade route. So, of course, they capitulated, because I guess that gay black people are higher on the progressive stack than white gay people. We feel strongly that police should not be welcome to march in Pride parades because police have done little to seriously address the constant mistreatment of trans people, indigenous people, black people, people of colour and the homeless community. Oh yes, we have a list of grievances here and absolutely every police officer is responsible for them, and no, you are certainly not allowed to march in our inclusive march. You are not allowed to be inclusive with us. We are engaging in civil disobedience. This is the true meaning of the history of Pride. We're going to set the true meaning of the history of Pride, which is the struggle to create a better world for all, except for the people who keep us safe in our beds. Around 30 protesters formed a chain at the intersection shortly after the parade started. They held up parade floats while chanting "Pride for all," unless they're in uniform, and signs carrying signs saying "No pride in police," so not pride for all then. Specifically, there is a group of people we will not include, but for all. Jesus. No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. Yes, you're so oppressed. I imagine Canada is just the most racist and institutionally supremacist country of all of the Anglosphere countries. I have no doubt. You are being totally oppressed in Canada. Very believable. So they made 4 demands. These include the society fund spaces specifically designed for people of colour and trans folks, basically the same thing, and that these spaces acknowledge and honour Pride's history as a demonstration against police oppression, which I didn't realise it was, but I guess it is now. The Pride Festival Society's board of directors issued a statement that they were in agreement with each of the demands presented. Of course you were. Of course you were. You can't oppose any of these things on any grounds because you believe in the same ideology and they are just carrying this ideology to its logical conclusion. Who is more oppressed? Well, black people, obviously. Gay people are barely even oppressed at all these days, are they? I mean, really, do they even count as being intersectional anymore? That's the question. But the EPS and RCMP and the military will not march in the parade until the community feels they have taken the necessary steps for all community members to feel safe with their presence. So they're being excluded until they have achieved the unachievable aims of the the Black Lives Matter activists. Once you have made things as perfect as we demand them, then we will let you march. Once you are completely within our power and dancing to our tune, then we might accept you back. That's what's happening here. And you know that their demands are never going to be met. Ever. And what's the outcome of that? The outcome of that is that the 2019 festival is fucking cancelled. As identity politicians achieve the inevitable goal of everything they do. Once they find a community that's built on something positive, they come in with their exceptionally negative views, start making demands that the other people can't resist because they're still along the same line of logic that they are following to get to that point, and end up fucking ruining it. And this doesn't just happen with LGBT parades, obviously it happens with a lot of other things. This is just one of the most obvious and blatant and in your fucking face examples of it. Thank you very much, Black Lives Matter. I'm sure that many gay pride marchers are thinking in Edmonton. It's normally one of the most well-attended events in Alberta's capital, but this year, the Edmonton Pride Festival won't take place at all, according to an email sent out by their organisers. They've obtained a copy of the email, which explains that why the 2019 edition of the annual event, which aims to educate people and create a spirit of unity by celebrating gender and sexual diversity, has been called off. It's because it's not inclusive enough to people who hate cops. It is with heavy hearts that we inform you that the board of directors has voted to cancel the festival, the email reads. In light of the current political and social environment, it has been determined that any attempt to host a festival will not be successful. Well, I wonder who is to blame for that. Who could possibly be responsible for that? The email goes on to remind its recipients that Pride is a non-profit run almost entirely by volunteers, so it's not even like they're sticking it to the oppressive corporations or something, and that the organisers have concerns that they would not be able to host a safe and enjoyable event this year. Well, no shit. You have actively got like insurgent elements within your communities that seek to undermine the very concept of inclusivity by excluding people based on what they do. At least it's not based on their race, I guess. At least they weren't saying, you know what, white people are the problem, I guess. Maybe thank God for small mercies. It is the members of the Shades of Colour, an Edmonton group that advocates for queer and trans black folks and blah, 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 who have been providing these demands involving a complete restructuring of our festival and our commitments to sponsors which we needed to bring our membership. A special meeting has been called as per their bylaws. We invited 4 representatives of the groups to request demands to speak at the membership. Due to these demands being non-negotiable, we needed our membership to discuss them and put them to a vote. So they were presented with an ultimatum, a series of non-negotiable demands to which they could not accede and so had to cancel the fucking thing. When will people resist these tyrants? Why should they be able to ruin everyone else's fun because they have a particular axe to grind? Fuck them. You tell them, sorry, that's not what we're doing here. We're not here to protest Black Lives Matter versus the cops or the military. We're here to celebrate gay pride, and that's what we're going to do. Now, you can come if you want, you can leave if you want, you don't have to attend, but this is what we're doing, and we're sorry that you have a bunch of fucking demands, like spoiled children, but instead, maybe you should just get an early night and go to bed. We had been informed that there would be protests. Well, no shit. They've done it for the last 3 years running. Why wouldn't you expect protests? You know, Black Lives Matter, protesting against cops and the military by shutting down gay pride events, as you do, because we're in fucking clown world, honk honk. Oh, fuck me, man. It's so infuriating, this first worldism that is infecting the identity politicians. It's absolutely pathetic. When the protesters entered the meeting area, we were fearful for our safety and the safety of others, moved to another location. Until we were able to hold a membership meeting and receive direction from our membership on how to proceed with these demands, like they're being held hostage by their ideology. So what did Shades of Colour think about the cancellation of the Pride Festival? Well, fucking racism, isn't it, mate? It is with profound disappointment that we express our appalment at the actions carried out by the Edmonton Pride Festival Society, which culminated in their decision to cancel the 2019 festival. We are calling this decision for what it is, namely a disavowal of deep systemic problems within the framework of EPFS, as well as an attempt to dismiss, target, and put out of play the efforts put on the part of Black, Indigenous, and people of colour, and the LGBTQ2S+, to point towards alternatives on how this organisation carries out its activities. As in, we are disappointed that instead of doing it our way, they're just going to fucking quit. Instead of bending the knee, they are going to Brexit. Time and time again, the EPFS has taken advantage of some of the most vulnerable members of this community. Right, that's it. That's it. The Pride Festival itself is an exploitative organisation, even though it's run by volunteers and it's a non-profit. But okay, yeah, no, it's exploiting the vulnerable members of their community. That's right, very convincing. As we may remember, on April the 4th, 2019, EPFS was uncaringly willing to deploy the very policing institution they're still under fire for defending at the expense of radicalised and colonised members of 2SLGBTQ plus community. As in, they're collaborators with the cops, right? That's what it is. It's you're with us or you're with the cops, which makes you fucking revolutionaries. I can't believe that the Gay Pride Parade in Edmonton isn't a bunch of revolutionary communist activists. I mean, you know, they might be a bunch of commies maybe, but at least they're not revolutionaries. But this is unbelievable. It's unbelievable how this Black Lives Matter group have just... it's social justice eating itself. And this was inevitable. You can't go on accepting demands from people who don't have fucking legitimate grievances against you. No matter who they've got a grievance against, whether legitimate or not. It's not against the fucking Pride Parade. But these people are in your communities and therefore they will exploit you to destroy what you have. Not on purpose. Oh, they just want complete control of it. But when they can't get complete control of it, like every fucking socialist who's ever lived, it ends up destroying itself through the means by which they try to get control. It's totally illegitimate. There is no reason that the Edmonton Pride Parade had to be fucking cancelled on the demands of some Black Lives Matter whiners. Tell them to get fucked and put on your festival.